Ulonka tabati yada to ye kuma daifa. Inu to ye go je love bipa. Oba tala oba takutakun. Zongo eshu ogun oya osun. Kini ṣẹ̀ṣe tán ṣe nílé yìí o. Ó jẹ́ lọ jára.
Alafia, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Gbemi, and today we have on another titan, another legend, another icon, another master teacher in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome none other than Professor Kaba Kamene. Peace and blessings, Professor Kaba. How you doing today?
Oh, man, peace and blessings to you, my brother. Everything is all right.
Yes, sir.
Hey, please tell me, brother, how should I address you?
However, either way is good. Whichever way is good with you.
Well, how would you prefer, brother? Because I see that I called you one way for a long time. Now I see that we got a new handle to our name. So how may I address you, brother?
Orisha Gbemi.
Orisha Gbemi?
Yes, sir.
So the G doesn't have a sound?
No, I believe it's silent. The G is silent.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Orisha Gbemi. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I like it. What does it mean, brother?
It means Orisha shows you favor. Orisha shows me favor. Orisha supports me, uplifts me, and upholds me.
Okay. And Orisha is?
Well, I guess it's personified by all the Orisha is the way that it was spelled. Yes, sir. But my direct head, it would be a child of Obatala. So
Obatala. Okay, yes, I got you.
Yes, sir.
So in many ways, brother, the Orisha from West Africa is very much like the Neteru of East Africa.
Yes, sir.
They are the guiding principles and forces of nature and life that guide you and keep you strong.
Yes, sir.
And always keep you on track.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
obedient to the ways of nature.
Oh, yeah. And they're going to let me know if I get just a little bit off.
Oh, they'll let you know in a minute, brother, man. You know, when you get off the, like Dr. Asa Hilliard, Nana before Montorkia used to always tell, he was the first one that really gave us an understanding of the other road when you're not on Ma'at, which is the righteous road. You are on the road that's called Ishfet. Now, Ishfet is not bad. You know, the wonderful thing, brother, Orisha Gbemi, is the fact that according to the African framework, the way I perceive it, there was never anything that would be called bad. It was what existed when it wasn't good. Because sometimes the other road of Ma'at, when you're not on the righteous road, you're on Ishfet. Now, it's not bad or wrong to be on Ishfet, but Ishfet allows you to know that you're not on Ma'at. And so it warns you, like when you said earlier that they will let you know when you're not doing the right thing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's like the road of Ishfet. Ishfet lets you know you're not on the right road. And sometimes, well, in my own life, brother, some of the greatest and strongest lessons I've ever learned was when I was on Ishfet. Because how do you know what is good if you don't know what's bad?
Yeah.
Or what is not good?
Yep.
So therefore, even those forces that are not in your best interest are still valuable because they teach you how to get back on the right road. And I've always found that very valuable and very interesting to the depth of African philosophy. You know, brother, he's now an ancestor, Dr. Jacob Carruthers out of Chicago. He wrote a book titled Intellectual Warfare. And this brother dropped some knowledge in that book. I mean, you talk about a titan, man. This brother was titan. You know, and he was deeply philosophical, but he understood the codes of nature. And this is where I first started learning about various aspects of life, about what is very important to understand and to know as you move through this maze of life. And the Orisha, as we've studied them, is very much like that also. They're not gods. They're representatives. They are the ambassadors of the cosmic universe that tell you the righteous way. And of course, from a Kemetic perspective, Ma'at represents that: truth, justice, balance, harmony, order, arrangement, and reciprocity. And of course, my favorite is reciprocity.
Yes, sir.
What go around, come around.
Yes, sir.
You shall reap what you sow. And so I think of that as human beings, no matter where we are in life, if you knew that how you treated others or what you did to nature was going to come back on you, the question is, would you do it? And if you would do it despite the fact to know that it's going to come back on you, then that's a psychological challenge that you have. That's an emotional instability. Because only someone who knows they'll be harmed if they harm someone else would harm that person. Because you'd stop and say, whoa, let me stop here for a minute and think if I want to do this. And if it was that not good, it come back on you sevenfold. So you do good, it come back sevenfold. You do not good, it come back sevenfold. And that's what guides the principles. Like my mother used to always tell me, she used to say, I may not be there. Your dad may not be there. Adults may not be there. But there is a spirit that watches you, that goes beyond us. You out in the street and you thinking about what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Know that there's someone watching you. And that's part of my life has been kept under that understanding. You know, even to this very day, my thoughts, when my thoughts come and they're not all that pleasant, I ask, just let that go. Give me the right thoughts to think. Let me get away from that. And in Spanish, there's a term that says "vete para allá," which is a spiritual force that means get away from you. Get away from you. You're cleansing your spirit, your soul, your aura to get rid of it. So, with that in mind, brother, I'm ready to get down. And you know what James Brown say? I want to get down, but in order for me to get down, I got to get in deep.
I know that's right.
So let's get deep.
Listen, I tell you what, man. Look, we've been blessed with a real strong weekend this weekend, man. Because we had some between you. We had Professor Small on Saturday, and then we had Ifa Carrady, I think Friday. So it's like it's been nothing but heavy hitters, with the elders coming through and dropping it deep. Like we've been getting it in real deep. And shout out to Professor Small. He shouted you out and shouted out Spirituality Before Religion Saturday, and then yeah, man, we ready to get it cracking. Like I said, the last time we did it. Yeah, the tribe was.
Yeah, my brother James and I were together last Saturday at a bookstore in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
we had a good time. James and I go back a very long ways.
Oh yeah,
our families go back a long ways. I go back to days back in. I'm talking about the 70s. And I always saw him as my elder brother. Just multidisciplined, and he has had many different aspects of his life.
Yes.
He's done a lot of things in his life.
Yes.
He's covered a lot of bases. I think he's been part of every religion that ever existed.
Listen, he said that Saturday too. He went deep.
Okay.
He went in on it. And it's funny because a lot of the things that he shared, I've never heard him speak about on no other platform. Mind you, I've been watching you and him. Like I've been watching all y'all for a long time before I had the opportunity to not only meet you, but then to get the opportunity to work with you, and, interview you and do podcasts. But I've never heard him share some of those, aspects of how many different religions and different, journeys that he's been on, man. But yeah, it's been phenomenal. It really has. And even back to the Hidden Color series,
Absolutely. Yeah. And he was a consultant for the TV show Godfather of Harlem.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, he was the one that was able to shape all those characters to let the producers know exactly how to place them within the historical context, because both he and I walked the streets during those days. So we know what was happening in Harlem. We know what was happening with all of the different characters. Word came out. That's how it was in Harlem. That's how it is in all of our communities. I heard it through the grapevine.
Yes, sir.
The grapevine runs through the Black community.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just like the numbers.
That's it. That is it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's powerful, man. I got family in Harlem as well, man. I got some of my elders up there in Harlem, like literally 127th Street, 125th, right 2 blocks over from 125th from the Apollo. I used to walk down the Apollo, throughout Harlem when I was growing up. So, yeah, it's definitely a monumental city, you know, with a lot of history, a lot of our history.
Man. And you know what's interesting is that there's these brothers that sent me a book. I mean, it's a huge hardcover book on blacks in Iowa. Now, when you think of Iowa, okay, you don't necessarily think of black folk. But brother, when you see what folk of African descent accomplished in Iowa, it's more than just a potato. Black folk did so much out in Iowa that it just blew my mind. Because up until they sent me that book, we met at the economic conference that Tariq Nasheed put together in Dallas, Texas. And they had been in contact with me prior to that, and they said, you know, I really got to get this book to you. I really would like to get this book to you. And they brought that book to me. And hey, brother, if you want to just hold on a minute, I can go get it and show you what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine, absolutely. Yes,
yeah, man, I want you to see what this, and I want the community to see this.
Yeah, no, that's what's up. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, family, we definitely going in tonight, man. Professor Kaba, definitely known for dropping the heat, dropping the you know, the deep knowledge and the deep wisdom, you know, and a lot of different varieties and a lot of different realms. And I look forward to hearing more about, you know, about this, because, you know, even like when you, because where did you meet with the Panthers when you got your award, Professor Kaba? Was that in like Kentucky or something? Like, it was in the Midwest, right?
Yeah, it was Louisville.
Louisville, okay, yeah. So
I've been there a couple of times, and I'm working with them because they just started a program for children.
Okay.
And I sent them my books, you know, for them to be able to see and to understand how I approach it.
That's what's up.
You know, and
yeah, we pretty much everywhere, man. I don't think there is anywhere that we not. And that's another thing that Professor Small was getting into too, about how much history we have in so many different places, whether it's here in the States, you know, across from Ireland. I mean, he went across the map, man. Like, it really was a master's class. So I was like, I'm like, wait,
no doubt.
Back with you.
See, this is the book. It's called Outside In.
Wow.
This is what it looked like.
That's a big book.
That's a big book, man. This is all here, right here.
Wow.
This is Iowa. And it's called African American History in Iowa from 1838 to 2000. Okay. And this is what the book looks like. Hardcover. Hardcover book. Okay. So everywhere we've gone, we've brought a flavor.
Yes, sir.
That is just so powerful. In terms of the program that we got, Carruthers and I are working on this program here, Panther Prince Productions, and basically it's my portfolio of work. But here's what the manual looks like.
That's dope.
Okay, and what we do is that we go into the community, and what we do is that we work with the children, because what Heru has done is he's identified quotes from all of the different Black Panthers, and also from people like Angela Davis and George Jackson and just of course Huey P. Newton and Eldridge Cleaver. You've got the sisters that have made quotes. You've got, but see, what we do is that we do a language arts program where we talk about, you know, examining critical thinking skills. So it's academic in a sense, in every sense. It deals with language arts, and basically what we're doing is that we are analyzing different statements that were made by the different Black Panthers and folk of African descent in our community. And that's what I'm doing in Louisville with our sister, General Hamara Brewster, who is the chairperson for the Black Panther Party in Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to take it on the road. We're going to do a couple of things. This coming so-called Christmas Day, we have an interview that I did with a brother named Elmer. And Brother Elmer, in fact, I have it up on my Instagram page. Elmer was he and his brother Aaron were the founding members of the Seattle Black Panther Party. And I got a chance to have a sit down. We went to an African American owned restaurant, really nice soul food restaurant, and we had a conversation, Panther to Panther. You know, you can go to YouTube, to the YouTube channel, Panther Prince Productions, which is my production company, and Haruna said and I worked together on that, and you'll be able to see it on Christmas Day. And
yeah, I think I saw it on your page today.
Yeah, that's on the page, and you know, it'll give you a chance. Panther to Panther. These many years later, he's elder to me, because when I was in the Panther Party, I was one of the children. I was turning 12 when the Panther Party started.
Wow.
So I was not one of the active members like Aaron and like Elmer.
Right.
But I just, you know, we just had a conversation talking about his experiences in Seattle. He was a high school student at the time. And my experiences as a 12-year-old in New York City, and going to Panther meetings and going to the classes. My first words in Kiswahili I learned in Black Panther meetings. That's how deep it was. So that we have that, and then also on my site now, I have what Christmas really represents as it relates to astronomy.
Yes.
Okay, because it's time that we look at this from an astronomical perspective.
Oh yeah.
What does it mean? You know, like the fact that because of the way in which the astronomy calendar worked, the idea was that there was a star being born in the constellation Virgo. That's where the Virgin Mother comes from. And then the visitation of the three wise men are the three stars of Orion's belt. And then you have Sirius. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, look south. At nighttime, look south on a clear night. You'll see three stars that are aligned. And then you look to the bottom left and you'll see a bright star. That's Sirius. Dogon called it Sigitolo.
Yes, sir.
And the Kemites called it Sopet or Sibat, how they pronounced it. So we've got that up on our site so that when we're going to celebrate this day, I want you to understand. Because when that star rose up with the three stars coming to visit him, that's the constellation that's called the manger. That's why Christ was born in the manger of a virgin.
Yes, sir.
It's astronomy. Beautiful story.
Yeah.
Beautiful story, and a story to guide our lives by. But there ain't no white people who are the stars of the show. It's astronomical. It's spiritual. It's beautiful. But that doesn't mean that people who are Christian don't have a right to celebrate. People who are Muslim don't have a right to celebrate. People who are Hebrew Israelite have a right to celebrate. My thing is not to change your religion. I'm telling you to Africanize it. Africanize your experience. You know, like what Boukman and Cecile said the night before the revolution. Cast aside your white God and embrace your African spirituality. You are free. He didn't say you would be free. He didn't say you could be free. He said you are free, which is an immediate response to wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of who you are as a person. We're a great people, my brother.
No, that's facts. You know, I'm so glad that you went there too, Professor Kaba, because as you were sharing what you and Heru were doing with the children, with the program that you're putting together with the Panthers, I'm doing the same thing with Starseeds, and I've shared, you know, many times with people about how inspirational you was with me putting that book together about, you know, the Dogon tribe and the Star of Sirius. And I'm trying to upload right now, because where we're at right now in this part of the world is the time where we can actually see Sirius. So I got this app that I use with a telescope that I bought for my star seeds years ago, and I'm gonna see if I can pull up this picture. But Sirius right now, if I went outside, I guarantee you I would be able to see it right here from my backyard.
That's right.
Like right here in our hemisphere. And so that's a powerful story though, Professor Kaba. Can you share how that story ties into the story of like how deep that goes with Jesus and the three wise men and how they correlate to Sirius and then the three stars of Orion's belt, which is what Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka, and then all three of them literally hover above the three great pyramids. If I'm not mistaken, correct?
That's right. That's exactly right. Also, you have an app. I mean, I have an app on my phone, and it's called Skyview Light.
That might be the same one I got.
Skyview.
I just got the picture up too.
I mean, it's right for me. It's okay. It's right here, and it's something that you can download, and you just hit that app, and then you put it up in the sky. You point it up into the heavens, and then you just go across. It'll tell you exactly where all the stars and the constellations are. It's something that's with us, and so that you can take advantage of this new technology to be able to understand this. But even if you didn't want to do that, all you're going to do is look southeast, and you'll see the three stars lined up, and then to the left of that, there we go.
Yep, there they go right there. Yeah. So you'll see right here, family. Hopefully y'all can see. Can you see my arrow, Professor Kaba?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, so these are the three right here, right? Alnitak, Alnitak, and Mintaka. And then this is Sirius. Yeah, that's
points right to it.
Yes, sir.
And in the metaphor, it was the three wise men or the three magi visit the Christ child in the manger. Because that was the constellation. It was called the manger. Because the star was seen to be born again because Sirius was not seen until it rose up into the heavens. And by January 6th, which was in the ancient days more of a holy day than December 25th.
Right.
And you see, what we do is we in our webinar that we have up, we're explaining all of this, and we're showing the science of this, because this ain't personal.
No, sir.
But you see, when folk got you chasing false deities, then you don't see where you fit in the story.
Yeah, the God within, in the mirror.
Yeah,
that's facts.
That is it.
Yes, sir. And so, what? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Professor Kaba.
No, I was saying thank you for sharing that piece.
Oh yeah. Nah, you're welcome. Yeah, like I said, it's a beautiful thing to see. I look at it every time I go out at this time of the year at nighttime. I look up and look at all of them. I can actually find where I'm at by finding how to align myself with where Sirius is at. And with that, we just had the winter solstice. So now, what's the significance of the winter solstice and how it plays along with what you just shared with us in regards to the stars and alignment with ancient Kemet and the Kemites and how they portrayed, this whole scenario through the Assarian drama?
Well, the idea is that solstice, the word solstice, it means sun stands still. Equinox means that the days and nights are equal in length. So that let's start with the winter solstice, which is interesting because it is when the sun is closest to the earth. But because of the 23 1/3 tilt of the earth, we experience cold weather. You would think that since the sun was so close, but the reality of it is that summertime, Australia is in summertime now. When we have winter, they have summer. When we have summer, they have winter because of where they are on the planet, south. And so when right now the winter solstice on Saturday, the 21st, in Kush Kemet, they built Karnak to represent that. We were in Kemet during the summer solstice, and they built the temple of Heru to honor that. See, everything according to our ancestors, nature was very important, and they believed very sincerely in the Kabbalian concept of as above, so below. And so our ancestors saw a relationship between the heavens and the earth. And they began to figure out things that were happening on earth were directly reflected in the heavens, and things in the heavens were reflected on the earth. And so for 4 days between December 21st and December 25th, Sirius is on its way to rise, but it is not quite where it should be. But on December 25th, they saw a birth. And again, in the webinar, I go through each of the days. It's an epigominal month of 5 days. Our ancestors had a calendar of 12 months and 360 days, 12 months. And then they had the epigominal month, the 13th month, or the little month of 5 days, which celebrated the Assarian drama. They celebrated Asar, the father, Aset, the mother, Nebetet, the sister, Seten, the brother. They all represented different things as it relates to life. And then Asar and Aset gave birth to Heru, or the resurrection. And this is why when you see the celebration of New Year's, sometimes you see that on New Year's Eve, as you're going into the new year, there's an old man at the end. And then you see a child, an infant in a diaper on the first moment of New Year's Day. That's the celebration of the so-called New Year. But that is only an agricultural calendar. Our ancestors had other calendars. For instance, they had a leap year calendar. And that leap year calendar was 1,460 years. And at the end of 1,460 years, they added an entire year. That's why it's called leap year. Well, we celebrate, and we don't even understand it. We call it, it should be called leap day. Because every 4 years we add, we add a day to February. But if you take 1,460 and you divide 4 into 1,460, you can check my math if you want to, you get 365. And that's just the way it is. If you multiply 4 times 365, you get 1,460. Check my math. It's all astronomical. It's all scientific. It's not personal. And so it is during this season that the Assarian drama, every day of the epigominal month, is honoring and naming and celebrating one of the 5 members of the Assarian drama. And if you want to see it in today's world, just go see The Lion King. Because The Lion King is the Assarian drama.
Facts.
If you want to see it, go see Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars is the Assarian drama. The storyline. This is where the Greeks got the Greek tragedy from. The Greek drama came from the Assarian drama, but they twisted it all around.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, they talk about Zeus being king of the gods, but Zeus was not the king of the gods.
Mm.
His father, Kronos, was the king. And Zeus, it's called the Kronos complex, which I think some folk out here got it right now.
Listen. Oh, man, listen.
The Kronos complex says, I will do better than my father, but I'll make sure that my son cannot do better than me.
It's terrible.
Kronos. Zeus killed his father and then tried to kill his son, Hercules. And Hercules is an illegitimate child that he had with Hera. Zeus, he went down and got into a little girl and impregnated her. This is where their story comes from. Just check it out. And that came from the Assarian drama. But the Assarian drama, Asar and Aset was husband and wife.
Yes. Yes.
It wasn't about getting into a little girl. Hey, come, listen. If all of a sudden you marry, right, and your wife come to you and say, you know, honey, I'm pregnant, but you're not the father. God's the father. Now, you know, you're going to look at your wife and say what?
Somebody got some explaining to do, boy. Listen.
God?
I said,
somebody about it's an immaculate conception?
Yes, sir.
I think it's time to get a lawyer right about now.
Yes, sir.
Man, they twisted stories around.
Yeah.
They made them into things that they never existed, man. They just created just warped, contaminated stories of pure stories that they received.
Oh yeah. Well, that goes even back to the swastika. You
Oh
know
yeah,
what Hitler did to the swastika. You know,
that's
and
right.
yeah, and even with that being said, though, Professor Kaba, on a serious note too, man, it's like that nothing's changed. We still see the same exact thing with the people who are the puppets that are controlling or manipulating society as a whole now, especially from the Western cultural, aspect or perspective. Like we're seeing the same thing,
Oh yeah.
literally the same thing, with the pedophilia and all that foolishness that they got going on. So it's like not a lot has changed. You know what I mean in regards to what we're seeing with these types of people.
Well, you just look at the new laws that they're trying to pass
Yeah, yeah,
as it relates to abortion, where they're
yep.
saying not even if it's incest can you get rid of that child. That tells me that their mind is on like impregnating their granddaughter or their daughter or their sister
Mm,
or their niece.
it's
There's
sick.
something wrong with that.
Yeah.
There's something very much wrong. But then if you look at their stories
Mm-hmm.
that they build their civilization on,
Mm-hmm.
not even to think in terms of the birth of the Roman Empire,
Mm-hmm.
where Romulus and Remus suckled at a female dog's breast.
And they actually showed that in the new Gladiator movie. Like they showed like that, you know what I'm saying, them brothers. Like
Yes.
and they talked about that. But I don't know how many people realize how real that was. Just like a lot of the stuff they put in the movies, but they kind of, what I'm saying, they painted or convoluted or they diluted a little bit to try to switch it up to flip the script. But there's a lot of truth in these movies, Professor Kaba, and they put that in there.
Oh yeah. I had a chance to do an interview with a brother recently.
Mm-hmm.
He had seen Gladiator 2
Mm-hmm.
and the role that Denzel Washington played in the movie.
Disappointed in that.
He said that he needed to get a sense of, how blacks were part of this process, and I was explaining to him that in the ancient and what's interesting is that my fifth book in the series that I've written
Mm-hmm.
is titled "The Moors Before the Moors."
Mm. Mm.
Because my brother Orisha Gbemi, we have got to understand who the Moors were.
Yes.
Even we have to, as
Yeah.
black folk, understand who the Moors were when we call that word. Because before they were the Moors, they were Ethiopians.
Mm.
This is one of the first words that we get from the Western perspective as to how they perceived black people. And all of the word, it went from Ethiopia to Moor to Negro,
Mm.
and all of them mean the same thing: black,
Mm.
black. And so, as we go through the understanding of our people, I was telling brother when I was doing an interview with him, I said, it's funny that you should be asking me this because I'm in the process of writing the book, and I have a chapter on who the Etruscans were.
Mm.
And the Etruscans were the people that lived on what could be called the western coast of what we today call Italy in the ancient world. And it was called Etruria. Etruria, Etruria. And they also lived on the two islands next to Italy, well, three really: Sicily, Corsica, and Sardinia.
Mm.
And these were the people that were there before the northern Germanic tribes came down and occupied this particular area. And so these were black folk, African folk in the Mediterranean basin. There are approximately, give or take, 26 countries that are in the Mediterranean basin. And again, I list all of them. Spain is one. Italy is one. You can go to parts of Turkey. Okay, these are all part of the Mediterranean basin. Greece is another. But at thousands of years before northern Europeans came down and occupied these areas, this was all a black land. Black folk had already had the Olympics in place for years, thousands of years before the Western civilization. In fact, that even the word Olympics comes from the Yoruba language. Olu. Olu in the Yoruban language, that's why you have Oludumare. You have a lot of people named Olu, Ola, and it means mountaintop. That's where Mount Olympus came from. This is who we are.
That's deep. I've never heard that, and of course, why would we? You know what I mean?
That's right.
That's real deep right there. That's deep.
And
wow.
and it's already, see, what we have to do is study and understand who the Pelasgians are. Pelasgian. Pelasgian. Pelasgian is the name that is referred to as the ancient peoples that were in this area before any of the others were here. And they were the black people. That was just the name they put on black people, even before Moor. But Pelasgian doesn't mean black. It's just the name that was given to these people, or maybe even a name they call themselves in a way that we might not be pronouncing it the way they did, but it come down to us as Pelasgian. Just check it out. Don't believe a word I say. I never speak for people to believe me. I just want to make you think.
That's facts.
Just think.
Yeah. And Professor Kaba, with that being said, like, I don't know how many people know that California comes from the name of a black, queen, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Khalifa.
Okay.
And if you want to come up in history, around the time of enslavement, it was 44 black families that founded Los Angeles. Pico Pico was a black man. That came out in Hidden Colors.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I gotta promote the Hidden Color series. Like, we might need to do a podcast on just that series alone, man. Like, between me, you, and Professor Kaba. Professor Small, because y'all have been in pretty much every one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Especially, I know you've been in every single one. I think Professor Small has been pretty much all of them as well. But that is a must-watch for any person of melanated descent across the globe, bar none, hands down, period. Because if you watch 1 through 7 or 8 plus 1804, like 6 or 7 plus 1804, it's so much ground covered in that series. It's not even funny. Because it really is, and it's like it's deep. It's real deep.
Absolutely. And for those who are in Los Angeles, you need to go visit the Hidden History Museum.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Because I was there for opening night. You should see what that place looked like.
I gotta get out there.
So that it's just, these are the concepts that we're dealing with as a people, and really to understand who we are as a people and what we have achieved, and the fact that if you want to enslave somebody, the first thing that you do is you enslave their spiritual system.
Facts.
And then out of that, you then, as Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop, the great Senegalese scholar, tells us, you then take their history from them, their language, their values, interests, and principles.
Yes,
and
sir.
you superimpose your history, your language, your values, interests, and principles on them. And that no matter what decision they come to in their life, it will never be in their best interest, because they're looking at the world through someone else's eyes. And that is what has happened to us as a people. This is why we're doing the webinars that we're doing. This is why we're doing the quibinars that we're doing. This is why we come on programs such as yours, brother, to talk to the community, particularly our younger generation, to help them understand. Don't fall for the okie doke.
No, sir.
Don't fall for the okie doke. I used to, every Christmas Day and every Easter Sunday day, I used to bring my daughters specifically, but then but when our son grew, we used to bring him. But I would just take them, and on the way to the movie house and on the way back from the movie, whatever movie we went to see, I would tell them the story that I just told you about the astronomy of Christmas Day. And they never thought that Santa Claus, they never believed in Santa Claus. Because, my brother Orisha Gbemi, I am not working all year long to give credit to somebody else for all them gifts under the tree. I put them there. Your mama put them underneath there. Okay, ain't no Santa Claus gonna come up in here and take credit for what I did. I don't care. And I wouldn't care if it was a black Santa. I didn't give black Santa credit either.
Yes,
I
sir.
did it. I did it.
Yes, sir. Listen, I almost want to pull mine in here and ask them how old were y'all when y'all found out about Santa, because they was like 2, maybe 2. I said, listen, don't go in there and ruin it, in school for your classmates. But I'm gonna keep it real. Daddy gonna keep it real with you. Ain't no damn Santa Claus. Like, we put them under the same exact thing. The same exact.
And like you say, you don't go into school and tell your classmates,
right?
Because we are all on different levels. That's how I feel about religions.
Yeah, same thing.
I see religion as weak stilts on someone's house.
Yes, sir.
And if I knock those stilts down, your house is going to fall. So what I attempt to do is little by little construct stronger stilts, so the weaker ones will just fall away. Because then when the weak ones fall away, you have stronger ones that'll keep that house up even stronger than they were before. They were wobbling with the weak ones. See, our young people are looking for something because they know it ain't happening in religion.
Yeah.
There are still some that go to church, and there's still some that go to the different spiritual houses. Much respect. If that is what gets you from Monday through Sunday, considering the world we're living in, I ain't taking that away from you. Our people have been hurt enough.
Yes.
And I don't want to be another reason why I hurt you in a way that you might never be able to collect yourself again. Because our people use religion as a crutch.
Yep.
But I tell my people, not only do you not need them crutches, you can run a race.
Oh, yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with your legs. But we walk around thinking that there's something wrong with our legs. And so it's far from me to be able to heal you if you don't heal yourself.
Yeah.
So I just lay the stories out there so people can hear. This story right now shakes people's at the core foundations of their belief system. This is the day that their whole religion is based on, the day that he was born.
Yes. Yes, sir.
And when I start talking astronomy, people be looking at me like I'm out of my mind. And all I'd have to ask them to do is one thing. Show me one historical document that will trace Jesus Christ actually being alive. Just one. You don't have to give me a whole bunch of sources. Just give me one source. We know Pontius Pilate lived.
Yeah.
We know the members of the Sanhedrin lived. That's historical document. We know that the Roman Caesars lived. So why wouldn't there be a story of this Jesus the Christ who claimed to be the Son of God not be in any books? Not be recorded?
Well, we know Eye and Heru are recorded because it's some very large monumental structures across Kemet that it's painted in stone.
Well, I co-hosted that tour in June.
Yes, sir.
And we went to the Temple of Heru. We were in King Tut's tomb where it showed you the virgin birth. They showed you that they fashioned, the way the story goes is Setan, his brother, killed him and cut him in 14 pieces. And they could find all of the pieces but one, which was his phallic symbol. And so they went out and Tehuti, the representative of wisdom and knowledge, helped Aset and Nebetet, the oracle reader, Nebetet, and the divine mother, Aset. He fashioned the magical words. They built an obelisk, a tekenu, and put it where his phallic would have been. And over magic words, it turned into a phallus. And for that one night, Aset, you can see Aset descending on the phallus. There are 3 scenes, basically. The one scene is Tehuti coming to Aset, telling her that she is with child. There's another scene where she is descending on the phallus of the reborn Assar. And then you have the scene where she's giving birth to Heru. It's carved in stone in King Tut's tomb. I saw it this past June. And it is the story of the virgin birth, the Christ child being born during the Virgo constellation. And that child is now visited by the three magi in the constellation known as the manger. Wasn't about no sheep and cows. Just right there, when I was young, brother, I'll tell you what, just right there, I knew that Christ had to be black, because the only people not allowed in hotels at that time, in my time, was black people. So I could only imagine them telling this black family, "Hey man, you got to go outside and have that time outside."
Yeah.
Right there, right from that point on, I figured he was black.
Yeah. Well, hair of wool, skin of bronze. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But see, these are the kinds of things that make, when you're so devoted to your spiritual system, these types of stories you overlook because of the power. When somebody wants, Stargate. I saw Stargate when it first came out in the late 80s. And man, I really enjoyed the story. I had a problem with some of the parts of it, but
right.
They had this god named Amun-Ra,
mm-hmm.
that they had deified with all this great power.
Yep.
And he was a force that was within a child that had been kidnapped 10,000 years before in North Africa. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I was so taken back by the story. Normally, when I go to a movie and I see a movie that's really very powerful, I try to go out and find the book. Because the book will tell me things about the story that you can't do in a movie. And so I went out and I bought the book on Stargate. And come to find out, the god Ra said there were three things that you do to a person when you want to control their mind. The first step is you give them a myth. The second step is you tell them it so many times they begin to believe the myth. You keep telling them the myth, and from belief, it becomes a habit of believing the myth. And while it's the most difficult to get rid of, it's the one that controls them. Because we know now, in our history, that there is nothing supreme about being white. However, we don't believe the myth anymore. But we have believed it for so long, we formed the habit, and the habit is what we can't get rid of. So a lot of what we do comes out of just the habit of believing that white is supreme, and that black folk don't have hope. They don't have a future. Not realizing that the day we wake up, the game is up. It's like the Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
Searching for a brain, a heart, and courage. And all Dorothy wanted to do was go home.
Listen, the ancestors are speaking to me. So real quick, Professor Kaba, I got a question that I really believe the answer that you give is going to really bring a lot of clarity and light to what we're speaking about. So when we're talking about this sick culture, this sick pedophilia, rich society, you know what I'm saying? Like with the BS that they got going on, we're trying to normalize this bullshit. Excuse my French, but it is. What does that play a role in any shape, form, or fashion in the negative birth rate or the decline in birth rates of the non-melanated people? Do you think that might have something to do with
I don't think pedophilia. Well, I think that the idea of not allowing, let's say it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout my life, I've always been against abortion.
Right.
Okay. I have always believed that the moment a zygote is formed, a human being is brought into the world. Okay, it's not about the first heartbeat, and it's not about how many weeks it's been around.
Mm-hmm.
From the moment it's conceived, it is a human being. An abortion does stop the life of that human being. This is science as far as I'm concerned. But there's only one thing I'm more against than abortion, and that is telling a woman what she should do with her body. A woman has every right to make the decision as to what should happen in her life. And because of the nature of the promiscuity, everything that we're experiencing, we're pushing on these little girls and these little boys about sex. Boys be getting wood when they're 4 years old because of the things that they're experiencing. I hope you understand what I mean by wood.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The whole society, when you go outside, they sell products, they sell cars, they sell food using sex. And we're pushing this on our children.
Yes.
Okay. So that, and the love songs that talk about how much I love you, let me take you and let me do this to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. From the moment children are beginning to bring this into their consciousness, they're being encouraged to, if not engage in the act, at least be aware of the engagement of the act. And so then when these young people get involved, they bring forward the child in a society that is not prepared to take care of that child.
Facts.
Okay? There are many brothers that do not stay with the woman when she gets pregnant. And so she is left there alone to take care. And you see, brother Orisha Gbemi, as an educator in the system all of my life,
Mm-hmm.
I've dealt with mothers and grandmothers of the children that I've taught. And all I want to know from anybody, have you ever known a child that's unwanted?
Mm.
Do you know what that child goes through every day of his or her life? I've had people tell me stories, not only as children, but also when they get older. There are some things that children have told. The sadness and the pain that they bring to their life, that has been brought into their life because somebody didn't have control and discipline. And to the brothers, when you take your dog for a walk, keep him on a leash.
Mm.
In other words, use protection. So that to go back to abortion, I'm against abortion. It is the taking of a life.
Mm.
But the only thing worse than that is to force a human being to do something that she is not ready, mentally, spiritually, physically, or soulfully prepared to take care of that child, because I've seen too many in my lifetime. I've seen the outcome. And I've also seen the pain visited upon other students in a school because of the pain that the child who is unwanted has gone through.
Yeah.
See, there was a time when, as agriculturalists, every child born was good. You had more hands on the farm.
Yep.
But now we're living in an industrial/technological age where there is no place for most of the children being born.
Mm-hmm.
There are no jobs. Okay, there are not the farms that you can work on, which is your job. We were agriculturalists. But now we become all sophisticated. And now we have all of this other stuff that you got to go for jobs. You go to college, spend all this money, and there's no job for you at the end. I had a student, a brilliant student, who double majored in Black Studies and in education, engineering. When she got out of college, the only job she could find was as a secretary in a veterinarian hospital. Nothing wrong with being a secretary in a veterinarian hospital.
No.
But when you're a trained engineer, you should have a job in engineering.
And with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, student loan debt, there's no reason why you shouldn't have a way to get the return on that investment.
There's no question about that. And so going back to the question that you are asking, in terms of their numbers dwindling, I have a 4-part series on the origin and development of the Caucasoid up on my website, CabaKamene.com. where I deal with the basic facts. Here's what I want y'all to go do. You can Google a New York Times article, okay? And it's dated June 20th, 2018. It's by Sabrina Tavernise. SabrinaTavernise. Okay? Check that article out. I think it's June 20th, 2018, or I'm getting my numbers, or it's June 18th, 2020. Okay? But either one of those, I know there's an 18 in the number and a 20 in the number. But anyway, the idea is that the article is titled, There Are More White Deaths Than Births. In 26 states in the United States, 26 states, which is more than 50%, more than half the country, there are more white people that are dying than being born. This is science. It's called demographics, the study of populations. You see all of this gentrification. You see all the white folk that are moving into black neighborhoods. There's a reason why that's happening. First of all, the first reason that white people ain't moving out their neighborhood. So white folk can't move into white neighborhoods. But you see, and you also notice that the people that are moving are young. They're young. They have families. And so what you're experiencing is the fact that they're moving into black neighborhoods because that's the only place, and they're moving black folk out to move white folk in because they have a problem with population. Because there are cities out in Iowa, in Idaho, in the Dakotas that are being boarded up. They're dying out. The elderly of the cities, they're dying and they're not being replaced. And so the younger generation has to move out of the city in order to find a job. And that's what they're doing. They're dying out. Now, why are they dying out? That's the question I think you're asking. Pedophilia is what they're attempting to do to impregnate little girls as young as they can impregnate them because they know their numbers are dwindling. So the idea of having relationships with a woman, this is what this whole thing about abortion is. Because the only person that can bring a white child in the world is a white woman with a white man. Okay, because once you go black, you stay black. Even if you go Asian, you go melanated. Asian go with black, you get black. Once you with black, you go back to the original human being. Okay? In my book, Carbon Before Melanin, I talk about this. I talk about Punnett Square. For those of you who want to check it out, look up Punnett Square, where you have the big B and the little b. See, my brother, it's not about superiority or inferiority. It's not about good or bad. It's about dominant and recessive genes. That's the scientific language of what I'm saying. It's not about being superior because you're black. You're dominant because you're black. Everything about you is dominant. It's the original archetype of the God on earth. Kinky hair, well melanated, wide nose, thick lip. Okay? Your body structure. That is the original human being. And so what the Cro-Magnon or the ancestors of the Indo-European did was they came with a mental, emotional instability where they only mated with their own. They really should have done the opposite if they wanted to survive, but they didn't. They decided that they were going to mate only with their own because they had xenophobia or the fear of the foreign. And so when they did that, they moved themselves off of the chain of events that would create a human family. And so what you're looking at now is not mutations. The Indo-European of today is not a mutation. They are mutations of a mutation. And the more they inbreed with their own, the more they're killing themselves off and it's called an extinction protocol. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing talks about it. Genetic annihilation. And so that there are reasons why this is happening. There we go. That's it right there. The big G and the little g. Okay? When you have the big G, you have a big G. One of them should be a big G on top, though. One of them should be a big G on top.
Yeah, I just found that online. After you said it, I looked it up.
Yeah.
I think it didn't come through the way I wanted it to, how I crafted it. But I definitely want to pull it up and share it, though.
Well, see, the idea is that you have a big G and you have a little g.
Right.
But see, in that top one, if you had a G on top,
Mm-hmm.
the G that mates with a G is big G, big G.
Like on the side right here, or no, it should be two big G's, right?
Yeah, on top should be a big G. That first G on top should be a big G and green.
I'm gonna see if I can find that one. If I can
find
one.
Look at B, because I always learned it with the B's, the big B and the little b.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can find it.
But basically that's what the square looks like.
Okay,
so that when you have a big G and a big G, two dominant mate, you create a big G, the child. When you have a big G and a little g, you have a little g and big G, but you have a mutation of the original archetype. When you have a big G, a little g and a big G, then you have an archetype. And then when two little g's mate, you get recessive, totally recessive. And so what should have happened in the beginning when the Cro-Magnon, or the ancestor of the Indo-European, came out of the ice mountains, they should have only mated with the original people, which would have been the big G. And the more they mated with the big G, they would have returned back into the human family. But as they mated with their own, they further mutated themselves away from the reality of who we are as a people. And that's what's causing them to die out. But not just that. The Black Death got rid of a third of Europe. When they got the plague. A third of Europe died out. They would have died out even further if black folk ain't gone in and healed them. The Moors brought in the medicine that cured the virus, and that's what allowed them to at least come back to a living standard. It's not the first time. Now, what is getting rid of them now is drugs. Whether we realize it or not, opioids is killing them. Opioids is just wiping them out. They're in big trouble. And meth is killing the younger ones. So they're dying of drug addiction. They're dying of melanoma, which is skin cancer. Because this disease of melanoma, see, we don't know about this, but when non-melanated people, when Indo-Europeans go to the doctor, they get totally naked. And the doctor goes over their body with a special magnifying glass to look for melanomas or skin cancer bumps. And President Biden had two since he was president. First Lady Jill Biden, she's had one. They get skin cancers all the time. They have to be removed. And then some of them get real bad where it spreads and then they die of melanoma. Now, with that concept in mind, now you have another type of idea. And that is melanin in the reproductive organs. And again, this is what I go through with in my book, Carbon Before Melanin. I talk about melanin in the female egg creates magnetism. Melanin in the male creates electricity in the tail of the spermatozoon. Spermatozoa is the plural. Spermatozoon is the singular. there's microtubules at the end that gets them to swim towards the egg. The job of the sperm is to get to the egg. And the job of the egg is to magnetize and draw the sperm to the egg. Now, the challenge is the fact that in less melanated or non-melanated people, in the woman, there is a dull magnetism. In the sperm, there's a problem with the spermatozoon, that it doesn't have the electricity to swim, because once a man ejaculates in a woman, and let's say no matter what time after the event occurs, she gets up and walks away wherever she may go, that spermatozoon is fighting against gravity to continue swimming up through her body. So when you have the magnetism of the egg in melanin and the electricity in the sperm, it draws and creates the ability to become impregnated. And so that's why black folk don't have a problem getting pregnant. They may have problems in other ways in terms of prenatal care, but they themselves don't have a problem getting pregnant because of the melanin in their reproductive organs. Now, that's not to say because the foods that we're eating are creating impotency in our life systems. It's creating impotency and sterility in all people. Black folk have a better chance to fight it off because of melanin. But it doesn't take away from the fact that when you eat the wrong foods, when you live the wrong life, it's not going to impact you. Nobody is excused from that. And so it becomes important that we realize that aspect of the story also. So to go back to your original question about pedophilia, the reason why they're so much against abortion, and the reason why they're willing to even make the child, a 10-year-old child, have a baby who's been raped by somebody in their family, is because they know that that's the only way they can survive. Because they're dying out. People we call European are no older than 10,000, and I'm giving them time. They're no older than 10,000 years old. Asian people are no older than 5,000 years old, give or take, because of the nature of the movement of the human family between 50,000 and 2,000 years ago. And again, I go through this in the webinar because you see, my brother, our salvation is our wisdom and knowledge and understanding.
Facts.
I've dedicated my life to studying this and sharing this with the community, particularly our young people, to help them understand how great they really are. And that with everything that we're experiencing out here, and with everything that they're trying to get us to believe about ourselves, and about how everything they try to do is just to destroy the very fabric of our greatness, taking over the rap industry, to make some of the artists speak the way they speak, talk the way they talk. And then some of the sisters that conduct themselves a certain way, not all of them. I'm just talking about the ones that we're aware of.
Yeah.
Their sisters say that when they go to work, the men, white men in particular, react to them like they're the rappers.
Yeah.
That they're loose. Okay. They can be touched. Okay. The image that they have created of us.
Yep.
This is what we're experiencing.
Yeah. It's cultural homicide and communal genocide. And that's what they're trying to program into the culture, into the fabric of, the consciousness of our youth. And it's to the point now where you won't hear artists who have the ability to tap into the consciousness like a Nas or, you know what I'm saying, like the Wu-Tang Clan, or Tupac. Like Kendrick is making a splash now, but you're not going to hear Kendrick on no mainstream, stations, like for real. But that's intentional. That's all part of the program. It's all part of the strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's deep.
And you see what artists like Kendrick and Nas have to do is to be so profound that your people follow So it doesn't make a difference if they put you on mainstream. Our
Right.
people will look for you and find you and support you. Because
Facts.
truth knows truth. And that's the one thing I found out about the work that I'm doing, is that truth knows truth.
Oh yeah.
And of the opportunities that I've had in my past to be able to move from this level of the work that I do, I learned I would put the date at 1977, 1978. No, man, that's a freaky world out
Oh yeah.
there. As you can see now with all the accusations coming towards
Mhm.
people, no matter how great you are, some of the things that I've heard Denzel admit to that he never admitted years ago, as great as he was, what he had to go through to survive in Hollywood, what he was exposed to survive in Hollywood. Bill Cosby, okay, what he had to go through, despite the greatness of all that he did. Don't take a thing from that brother, what he did. He was an icon. But when you live in that world, R. Kelly, you know, I mean, when I listen to R. Kelly's music, wow, it's just profound music. But what he went through to get there, what we go through as a people, you know, P. Diddy, you know, it's just what you go through as a people and what you're exposed to and what you're willing to trade your soul for.
Mm.
And in the early part of my career, I thought that that world was going to be what I wanted to do. I was disc jockey. I was disc jockey in the early days, where the word DJ came from. Before it was DJ, it was disc jockey in radio stations.
Yeah.
But when you come from a certain moral fiber, and there are people that want you to sell your soul, and they're willing to trade fame and fortune and money. If you come from a certain background, you might succumb
Yeah.
to the devil's
Playground.
trinket.
Yeah. Highly weird, man. And the place of sacrifices and souls, you know,
I
changing
can
fate.
see it. I
Yeah.
can see it. I know.
Yeah.
I know. I can see it. I had experiences where you come to a point, my brother Orisha Gbemi, and your soul is put on the line. And you know, I've gone on job interviews in radio and television where this was years ago in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
in the early days of what I wanted to do. Because man, I grew up in the radio. I grew up as the beginnings of what we today call rap music.
Mm.
And man, I just thought that was the way I was going to go. I heard the radio, I heard the music, the Motown sound, the Jackson 5, Marvin Gaye. Oh man, we were all entranced with that. And I said, I'm going to go for that. And then when I got in, I began to see things. I went on an interview one time, and the man put his hand on my knee, and I smacked it off.
It sounded like Mike Tyson when Diddy tried to put his hand by Mike's leg on that interview.
Yeah,
Mike said,
yeah. You make a choice at those types of points in your life, in your career.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, did you see all those other young boys out there? Any one of them would let my hand stay there.
Yeah.
What makes you think you're going to get the job? And it wasn't working with me. This is what happens in that system. There's a lot that you sell, and you live with that cloud of if you are a person of moral fiber, but your moral fiber isn't as strong as your desire for the material world. You're still moral. You try to be moral, but you want that job. I never felt that.
Mm-mm.
You can't cross over. My conscience is too deep. My parents instilled in me. My community, John Henry Clark, instilled in me a deeper sense of what you want out of life and what you can actually go to bed with a clear conscience. And that just wasn't going to happen. And just by chance, at the same time this was going on, I was already in radio. I was already in music.
Mm-hmm.
I had my first job. So, in radio back then, once you got in, you just graduated.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first job that was the most difficult thing to do. Once you got your breakthrough, everything else came to be, because you would tell somebody, well, I come from X radio station. Well, they know, well, okay, he got experience.
Mm-hmm.
But if you telling people you ain't never had experience, very few radio stations are willing to invest in you. So that's why the magic of getting that first job is most important. Because once you're in, you're in. But this is the world that the Western world is. This is the Sodom and Gomorrah. It's a metaphor. The Sodom and Gomorrah is a world that has lost all moral fiber.
Mm.
It has lost its way. It is on Ishvet. But not only is it on Ishvet, Ishvet is a downhill travel where it's very difficult to climb back up onto Ma'at.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a flat road. The Ishvet that Western civilization is on is tumbling out of control. And this is why we got to get ourselves together, my brother. And the first step is self-love and self-knowledge.
Mm.
No one can make you love yourself, but they can give you knowledge. And so what I'm attempting to do is give us the knowledge we need so that we can move forward. They used to burn the books. Now they're banning the books. Because they know once you know your history, it's not about them feeling bad. It's about us finding the truth.
Yes, sir.
That's about Florida right there, brother. You know what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, listen. Look, you can deny the lie, but you can't hide the truth.
Bottom line. Truth crushed the earth, it will rise again.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened.
Yeah.
And so, again, going back to your question, they know their time is up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to try to create as many white babies, European babies, as they can. And this is why in Europe, if you want a good book to tell you what's going on in Europe, why all this craziness is happening in Europe, just read a book called The Birth Dearth. Birth, B-I-R-T-H, Dearth, D-E-A-R-T-H, by Ben J. Wattenberg, W-A-T-T-E-N-B-E-R-G. Don't believe me. Read what they're saying about what's happening in Europe and about population.
Mm.
If you want to know what's happening in America, read a book by Pat Buchanan. Minister Louis Farrakhan told us to read the book Death of the West by Pat Buchanan. Their numbers are dwindling. For every one of them that dies, 6 will not be born.
Mm.
For every one of us that dies, 3 are born. It's demographics. It's science. You can count. This isn't this isn't emotional. Might be a little wishful thinking, but it's not, playing around with emotions. This is what the numbers tell us. Their numbers are dwindling. But keep in mind, at one time they weren't on the planet. And by the way, before they were white, they were black. Europeans and Asians were once black people. And if you trace back our lineage far enough, every human being would be living in Central or Southern Africa as Twa Mbuti Khoisan people. So when everybody's doing these DNA testing to go back and find their lineage, if the end result of your lineage isn't in South or Central Africa, it's like taking a family portrait and leave your grandparents out. You got a picture of your family, but it's not everybody.
Right. That part. What's the name of that book, Professor Kaba? I know the cover of it is gray, and it talks about the the Caucasus Mountains and the Iceman coming out of the Caucasus Mountains. You told me about that book years ago. I got it. It's in my library.
You talking about the Iceman's Inheritance?
Is that it? It might be, but I know it talks about
Michael Bradley. There's another book that I would encourage you to read if you're interested in that, and that's a book by Paul Guthrie, the Making of the White Man.
I'm gonna go and grab it real quick because I'm not sure which one it is, but I'll be right back. I'm gonna go and grab it real quick. But but you talked about that process, and y'all spoke about it in Hidden Colors as well. But it's like when they came out of the Caucasus Mountain, and then what they were doing in the Caucasus Mountains that kind of led to the characteristics and some of the traits and some of the behaviors that once they came out of there, they kind of brought that same energy, those same habits, those same attributes, and just ran them up, running mayhem across the globe.
Absolutely. And when you stop and think about it, just think, okay, now here in New York City today it was 23 degrees. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Cold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And where you are, I'm not sure what your temperature was. But if you go down to Miami, chances are it was warm. The reality that we face as a people is that when you think about it, you have a different lifestyle when it's 23 degrees compared to when it's 82. When we are in our summertime, we all hang around and we outside talking to each other, and we spend more time outside than inside. But in wintertime, you come upon the same friend you stood on the corner talking to for a half hour, you say, yo, okay, we good, but I'll check you later. Or why don't we step inside where it's warm so we can talk? So the reality that we face, family, is the reality that in a cold climate, you create an atmosphere, and your environment or your nature really becomes the creator that you create, that has created you. So imagine how you feel about your God, and imagine the story you create about your God when it's minus 100 degrees below zero, and you have to live in a cave most of your life. You don't go outside. What kind of food do you have? You're hungry all the time. You're struggling. There's a proverb in Europe that talks of those times. It says that if they saw their friend chasing a pig, they never chased to compete with their friend to get the pig. They let their friend catch the pig, and then they ate both the friend and the pig. That's the kind of proverbs that they had back then. They had forms of eating each other. So that as we're dealing with this reality, and as we're moving to understand what's going on, that it becomes important that we understand who we're dealing with and the mindset that was created in the Ice Age. And think of us in the tropical weather with mango, bananas, fruits, and vegetables. What type of mindset? To you, your nature, your God loves you. Your God feeds you. Makes it possible for all good things to come in. One of the things that separated the hominid from the pangid, the hominid from the animal world, was the concept of sharing. You grow oranges, I grow watermelon. I eat watermelon all day, you eat oranges all day. But what happens when I say to you, can you give me some of your oranges and I'll give you some of my watermelon? You eat watermelons and oranges, I eat watermelons and oranges. Sharing. But when you're in the ice, you ain't sharing nothing with nobody. In fact, you stealing from people. If you see that they got something, you go steal from them. So that it becomes important that you understand these concepts. that we came from a sharing mentality. And those Africans that went into the northern climate and got caught in the ice age, they had a dog eat dog mentality. And like you say, my brother Orisha Gbemi, they brought that mentality down here with them. And even though you may have avoided Dracula throughout the entire movie, once you get bit, you start to act like the vampire. Some of us have been bit by the vampire, and we are carrying that same parasitic mentality on each other. We got to work on that fact. We got to stop fighting amongst each other. If somebody said to me, what's the first thing black folk must do? The first thing I say is you got to stop fighting amongst each other. But to stop fighting amongst each other, you must know yourself and stop fighting with your inner things that are going on inside of you and me, myself included. It's a lifelong. When you talk about the Assarian drama, you have Set, you have Assar. Okay? Set, Assar. When you're dealing with Set, Set is the betrayer. Set is the person inside of you that is always telling you, like Judas, you're not going to be able to do it. You can't do it. Stop thinking you're like that. You don't have it within you to be able to succeed. You're a failure. And then you have the Savior. Okay? You have that person within you, the Messiah, that's telling you you can do anything you set your mind to. And there's a battle. You know the story of having the devil on one shoulder and God or the angel on another. There's a battle going on constantly. That's the Assarian drama. That's within each and every one of us. And they have been able to convince some of us that Judas is going to win out. And the Messiah was born to make sure that Judas fails. Judas will fall 9 times, but the Messiah will rise 10. And as a people, we have to understand how great we are. With everything that has happened to us, historically, generation, the fact that we're still here, if you're black, alive in 2024, going into 2025, you are a miracle. Because you're not supposed to be here. With everything they set up, we were either to be enslaved or dead, non-existent. The fact that our brother Orisha Gbemi and I could be on here having this type of conversation with all of the wonderful people out there, that's a miracle, family. That's why they burned our books. That's why they forbid us from reading. And when they couldn't burn no more books, and when they could not stop us from reading, what did they do? They started to ban the books. And that's what's happening now. This is their sophisticated version. This is a 2024 version of forbidding you to read and banning you from reading. Knowledge and wisdom. And when you love yourself, it's because you know yourself.
Know thyself. Ashe. Listen, that's powerful. And speaking of which, because the agenda of them trying to ban the books, family, I'm giving away Star Seeds and Young Kings free ebook downloads. To like you were saying about sharing, Professor Kaba, because we do have that parasite mentality, within us, kind of like being bit by the vampire, where a lot of us rather compete with one another rather than collaborate with one another, and that's a parasite that we got to get rid of. It's an infection that we kind of got to dismiss that, because it's essentially the same thing as the collaborators in the Haitian Revolution, where they had to be eliminated because it's like we can't move forward with that kind of energy. And what you were saying, you was right. It was the Iceman Inheritance. I found it by Michael Bradley, right? And the forward by Dr. Clark.
Yes.
Yeah, it's deep. It's real deep.
Yeah, but another book that would complement that book is The Making of the White Man by Paul Lawrence Guthrie.
I
I encourage you to get that book.
I'm definitely
because that brother cites ancient texts that talks about these people that's coming out of the ice mountains. And he's telling you what they're doing when they come out the ice mountains. And so it becomes Merlin Stone wrote a book also, When God Was a Woman. And she also talks about the Southern European and the Northern European and about what was happening there. There's books on this. And then, of course, my 4-part series that I put in a bundle to get an understanding of who they are. And I use all of these books as my references. See, because, family, I am dedicated to giving you the books that I have researched that bring you to this point. It's important that I just don't say this. And you say, yo, I heard Brother Kaba say this. No, I want you to know the books that I've read that brought me to these conclusions. Is it absolutely correct? I believe that future generations that we're educating will take my knowledge to a whole nother level. Just like our good brother Dr. David Imhotep took Dr. Ivan Van Sertima's information to another level. Dr. Ivan Van Sertima took Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop's information and knowledge to another level. Okay? It is up to us in our generation to bequeath to the younger generation and passing the baton to you, that you take this information to the next level. There's so much more to have to be learned. Okay? It don't finish with me at all. I know that. Dr. Ben used to tell me I'm only scratching the surface. And that's Dr. Ben saying this. And so we all have got to continue this process of study and learning. And this is why, you know, if you want more information that I have, go to my website, kabakamene.com. You go to Gumroad, you put your email in, a free e-course and study guide. When you spoke about giving away star seeds, my study guide is the most important document I've ever written. 44 pages. And the reason why it's free is because Dr. Clark told me on several occasions, your life is your life and you live for as long as you were destined to live. But you may not reach your destination that you set out for yourself. But if you prepare the proper roadmap that is saying where you're going and what is the easiest way to get there, you may not reach your destination, but those that come behind you will pick up your roadmap and continue your journey. My study guide is my journey. It is my roadmap. It'll tell you where I'm headed. It'll list the books that you need to read. You want to know about how life started in Africa and why it would start in Africa? I've got that and all the books that I've used to write that curriculum. You want to know about Africans in Asia? I got that. Africans in Europe? I got that. Africans in America? I got that. Melanin? I got that. You want a study guide to hidden colors? I got that in my study guide. Free. Got a 6-day e-course. You put your email in the first day of the e-course and the study guide will come to you. And then for 5 days after that, every day will come a class on my overview of my book, Spirituality Before Religions. Free. I've got my products up there. They vary in price. I got Stream. I remember back in the day, I told the community when I would go out and speak, these were days that we had the video cassette and the audio cassette. This is before DVD and CD. And I used to charge $10. At that time, $10 was a decent amount of money. And I explained to the community, if you would just support me in what I'm doing, when I get a chance to lower the price, I will do that. And I said, I only have my word and who I've been to you through these years. I'm talking about back in the 80s and 90s. To believe what I'm saying. Those DVDs and those video cassettes that I sold for $10 and sometimes $15, audio cassettes were like $10 and $5. They are now 99 cents. I streamed them because now when you stream, you can bring the price down. So I brought the price down, 99 cents. If it's a 2 DVD set, it's $1.98. If it's a 3 DVD set, it's $2.98. Not the $10, not the $15. Because I'm trying to make a living, not a killing, so that when you support the work that I'm doing, I support the work that you're doing. And what Brother Orisha Gbemi was saying about starseeds, I remember when he showed me the book and we were talking about how he could bring that into the classroom and some of the things that he could see and understand how valuable that book Starseeds was, and to understand things that you can emphasize, things that you could bring light to, conversations that you can have. There were visuals. There are visuals in his book that you can have a whole conversation about and just have children identify things, because you see, to me, it's about exploration. We have an idea that we're always telling people what to do. Like education is putting things in you, whereas education means to draw out. And I use a technique in questioning called the food technique, FOOD. 4 types of questions. You have the factual question, which is yes or no answer. You have an opinion question. And, this is a problem that we have sometimes. We don't know the difference between fact and opinion. And nobody's wrong when they give their opinion. If you answer a factual question, you could be wrong. Like if you said, does the sun shine in day or night? And you say the sun shines during the day. That's the right answer. If you say the sun shines at night, that's not an accurate answer. So fact is a yes or no answer. Opinion is how you opine on something, how you see something. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with them or not, they have a right to their opinion. And this is how you discuss opinions. The second O is open-ended. Have you ever gone to Africa? Do you have some ideas as to how you can cook this better? Do you have any concepts of how to do this project? So you have 3 words in the open-ended question. And normally these words include some. Do you have some? Ever? Have you ever? Any? Do you have any? SEA is the open-ended question. And then the D is descriptive, which normally describes the open-ended question. Have you ever been to a country in Africa? The answer is yes. Descriptive is describe to me the country that you went to. And this is how you interacted. When I was speaking with my brother, I was talking about the food technique, about how to ask and to draw out of the students ownership of the conversation. Because too many times we work too hard. As educators, we work too hard. We talking. The children just sitting there. Okay. When I was in the classroom teaching, and at the end of the day, the teachers would just be, oh man, they would come out, they were tired. And the children come out dancing and skipping and having a good time. Okay. And that's because the teacher worked so hard during the day. Mm-hmm. Teaching, talking. When I came out, I was skipping and dancing, and the children were coming out because I worked them. I worked their minds.
Yeah.
I made them think. I allowed them to expand their consciousness in the classroom. And a lot of that comes from opinion questions. Mm. because nobody was ever wrong. It could have been a question that is so far afield from what everybody in the classroom felt.
Mm-hmm.
But what brought that student to think like that? Let's talk about it. How did you get to think like that?
Mm.
What made you think like that? Did something happen? Did you see a TV show? Did somebody say something to you? What made that happen?
Mm.
One of the questions that I always enjoy asking people when they tell me that they have, that they've spent a while, they never knew the information that they may have heard myself say, or Professor Small say, or Dr. Leonard Jeffries say, or Dr. Clark say. I always ask them, what was your turning point?
Mm.
What happened in your life that made you realize? Because that is the fundamental question we have to ask our people. For all of our people who are not there yet, what experience did you have? Well, I visited my uncle, and my uncle had hidden colors on.
Mm.
He said, sit here, watch this. And I watched this. Or it could be any type of thing that could happen. I went on vacation down south, and we visited my uncle that owns a farm. And for the first time in my life, I was able to eat food that I had picked from his farm, and they cooked it.
Mm.
Wasn't no supermarket involved. Didn't go to no Piggly Wiggly. They ate what they produced. They said for the first time, and the thing was is that he was with his uncle, on the farm, helping his uncle plant the food and pick the food. And he said, what a feeling it was to be able to eat the food that came from the ground, because they spent their life going to the supermarket. It changed their life about their eating patterns. For the first time, they were exposed to what it was like to eat what you grew. So they wanted to grow a little farm in their own house. So they got seeds and dirt and put it up against the windowsill in the project and grew food. I wanted to know what's the difference? What's that one point that took you from here to there? It's called a quantum leap, and a quanta is a very small space, very small. But in that space, there is the place of no return. You'll never go back to the person you were before you cross that little space.
Mm.
You can't go back. You're gone too far to turn back now.
Professor Kaba, please. Can I share my turning point with the tribe real quick?
Yes, please.
Listen. Oh man. So I'm gonna share this on the channel in the very near future, family. But I'll never forget. I was watching your work, studying you, researching you, all that before the first time I met you in Charleston. And the first time I met you was in South Carolina in Charleston. I remember that one. I can't remember the year, but it was right after the church shooting.
That's right.
But the first time I got to actually like chop it up with you was when we were in Miami. But my turning point was the one that was the point of no return. And I'm about to share it right now in the comments for the family as you were speaking on that. But it was the video that you had. I want to say you might have been in London, and you was giving a presentation on the Dogon tribe. And the title of the YouTube channel, YouTube video is "Black People Come from Sirius."
Mm.
And it's an hour and like 42 minutes long. And I'll never forget, I must have watched that interview, or I should say that lecture, maybe 40, 50 times. I don't know, maybe more. But I watched it and watched it and watched it and watched it. And that's literally where I feel like the birth and the creation of Star Seeds came from.
Mm.
Because I remember watching that interview so many times, and you spoke about the Dogon, you spoke about them, and their tribe being the Night Eyes, and how they were able to develop their sight to be able to see so far from a distance that they could actually see the star Sirius with their natural eyes. And I just remember like listening to it like, man, this is deep. And then you talked about the Siggy ceremony with the Kanaga mask and how many, I forgot how many, 50 or 75 years that they would celebrate, the annual event where they was able to, make that first contact.
60
But
years.
it was just so profound to me because it really resonated to the point where I'm like, yo, that really is us. Like that's us. And then you talked about how they were tied to the Nile Valley, from migrating from Kemet to the mountains of Mali. And so now you have the Kemet connection. And then when you talk about how the stars and Orion's belt all align with the pyramids, like I'm like, yo, this is deep. Like that was my point of no return. I felt like Neo in the Matrix when he went in, and it was just like because it was like a whole nother experience, like as far as the expansion of consciousness. And it's deep because I remember just having a conversation with a brother earlier talking about those turning points or those one-off moments where things change. You just snap. And that was the time where it happened for me. And it's like, it's crazy because when we met in Miami and I presented to you, the manuscript for Star Seeds, it was like, it was dope. I'll never forget that. And I still got that interview to this day. So it's like, that was a profound moment in regards to reliving that moment that was the turning point. So much so that it actually created, a creation. A book came from that one experience. So it's profound to know how one person can have such a significant impact on so many people and might not even know it just because they believed in doing the work for the right reasons.
That's it.
And Professor Small said it best Saturday. He said, when you take this oath to serve the people, it's freedom or death. It was a powerful, moment, but it just kind of brought me back to everything you just said.
Yeah. And that is the key. Malcolm said, sometimes the price of freedom is death.
Hmm.
And once you lose that fear of death, and you don't lose the fear of death, what you do is you acquire the courage to overcome the fear. Because brother, we're all human beings. We'd all like to live. I'd love to see my children and my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren grow to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Okay? But the thing is that there are things that are larger because there is no such thing as death. Death is a creation of the Western world because they were not always here. So just like you were never always here, there'll be a time when you're not here anymore, which may be 200 years from now. There will be a time in history where people will search for white people bones the way we're searching for dinosaur bones to prove that they actually lived. Do you see how deep that is? You'll never do that with black people because it'll be black people searching for white people bones to prove that they actually lived. They weren't always here. And because of their conduct and because of the way they've acted, they are working themselves out of the human family because they have no respect for nature. And it becomes so important that we as a people, that we just connect with each other. But before you can connect with each other, you got to connect with the Assarian drama that's within you. You're both mother and father. You have a mother and you have a father. When you are nurturing your children, my brother Orisha Gbemi, when you're nourishing them, that's not the father in you. That's the mother in you. That's the nurturer. The energy of nurturing is a female energy. When a mother sees that her child is about to get attacked or whatever, and she stands to protect him, that's not the mother in her. That's the father in her. The protector energy is a male energy that's within all of us. Asar and Aset is within all of us. Okay, the oracle reader, Nebetet. Nebetet is the oracle reader. She is the one that can foretell the future. She is the one that can tell you what happened in the past, and she can warn you in the present of both. That's within us. When you have those thoughts that are premonitions of your actions, so I better not do that. Okay, this will happen if that happens. Okay, that's Nebetet. That's a female energy, the oracle reader. And then how about when it's time to destroy? to take things apart. Not always bad. Because sometimes to construct, you must destruct.
Mm-hmm.
And normally you construct with everything that you had destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing new under the sun. So you have Satan in you. And then how about the resurrection? How about when all is said and done, you find those fourth quarter drills? You find that energy that you never thought you had, and it resurrects you. It takes you to the next level. So the Assarian drama, the Christmas story, is within each and every one of us to be celebrated.
Mm.
But you got to know it. You got to know it. Before you can unite with someone else, you must unite those forces within you. Before you can love somebody else, you got to love you. How can you love somebody else if you don't love you? How do you know what love is if you don't love you? And not a selfish love, a genuine love, a mer. A mer. A mer is a cosmic love. The best you can do in English is called agape.
Mm.
Agape is that love that goes beyond love. That love that says, I love you so much words could never explain, because what you feel is not something you can express, it's something that you do. And that's how I feel about our people. I love them beyond the words that could express that type of love. That type of love that we come from people who were on plantations, who were royalty. Our ancestors on the plantation, they were kings and queens, even if they were in bondage. They carried themselves with dignity and integrity and fought against the system and eventually won it against all odds. So when people think they're going to have a hard time now, you wrestle with the devil and beat him.
And won.
And won. If
one.
you could do that with what you had then, we should be ashamed to think we can't handle this. I got good news and bad news. Or good news and not so good news. And the good news is Dr. King was right the night before he died.
We're going to make it.
We're going to make it to the promised land. We as a people will make the promised land. That's the good news. But the not so good news is that for some of us who are living the life that we're living, we ain't going to make it. Because we have betrayed our ancestors and the Creator for 50 pieces of gold and silver. We have become the Judas, not just to each other, but to ourselves first. And out of that, reciprocity is going to tell you, you shall reap what you sow. What you give is what you'll get. What goes around comes around. Science, not personal.
Oh man, yeah, we're going deep. We're going.
Well, I tell you, I want to get down.
And I'm gonna start digging for you. So because that right there with itself was a mic drop, but you said you wanted to get down, you wanted to go deep. So we're talking about Heru, we're talking about the Assarian drama, we're talking about Assar, Aset, and the whole concept. Now let's really go deep, Professor Kaba. So how does that concept tie into the Eye of Heru, the pineal gland, and then the work of the black dot from the works of the ancient Kemet, you know, the pyramids, but also like the likes of Dr. Richard King and his work, you know, the pineal gland and the Eye of Heru?
Well, think of the Eye of Heru, the pineal gland, okay, as being the same thing, and the black dot. All three of those are the same thing. And as it's written in the Kemetic legacy, there was a story that was told that said that Assar murdered by his brother Satan. Assar's and Aset's son Heru did battle with the evil uncle, Lion King, Mufasa, Scar, and Simba. And Satan plucked the eye of Heru out, fell to the ground and broke into 6 pieces. Now, this is a metaphor, and we're also talking about mathematics. And so it comes down to us that the 6 pieces of the eye that fell were fractions. This is what they taught in math, were fractions. And Tehuti told Heru that if you can solve this problem, if you can make all of those 6 pieces become one, I'll give you insight, which is the pineal gland, which is insight. I call it inspirited sight. So when you look at the Eye of Heru, it's broken into 6 pieces. The eyebrow, okay, and when is equal to a certain amount. Then you go to the 3 parts of the eye itself, and then you go to the line that comes down, and then the curved line that comes. Okay. Each one of those represents a fraction, and every one of those pieces represents a different sense in you. The eyebrow represents your thought, because thinking is a sense protected by the brain. It is a sense. Okay. Your eye broken into 3 pieces. One represents your nose, one represents your eye, middle of your eye, and the other represents your ear, your nose, your eye, and your ear. The straight line that comes underneath represents your finger or touch. The one that goes around like this represents your tongue or taste. So you have your thought, your smell, your sight, your hearing, your touch, and your taste. If you could bring all those senses together, make it one. Now, each one of those 6 different pieces represents 6 different fractions. 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, 1/32, 1/64. And so what Heru did is he added them all up. And Tehuti said, but before you give me the answer, I want you to know that the answer is right in front of you. You already have the answer. It's in front of you. You must make all of those pieces one. But when you add them all up, and you can do it yourself, add 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, 1/32, and 1/64, add them all together. And what you do is you come up with 63 over 64. And Heru said, how can I put this all together? The answer is that Tehuti said the answer is in front of you. Do you know that straight line that represents the finger? That represents 1/64. So the question becomes, what did Heru have to do to make all those fractions become whole or one? Bring it together makes it whole, but one, bringing it all together, makes one. Well, the finger represents 1/64. So when you add 1/64 to 63 over 64, you get 64 over 64, you get the number 1. But the finger looks like the number 1. The answer was right in front of him all the time. Which means that when you combine all of your senses together and you're able to make them one, you then have insight. Now let me take you to the next thing. The sound. Okay. You can try this at home. What you'll notice is that there's a part of your brain that feels like it's being tickled. Our ancestors, when I was in Kemetic, I visited a particular area in the Grand Lodge of Luxor. That is pretty much where it's right behind your olfactory bulb, because they built a temple according to the human body. There's a book called Temple in Man by Shoutout. And when you make that sound, M is the only sound you make where your mouth must be closed at all times. A, B, C, D, Z, T, R, S. Your mouth is open. N. But when you have to say M, your mouth is closed. When your mouth is closed, it creates a vibration that is sent through your body. But in particular, there is a place in the back of your olfactory bulb where all of your six senses meet. Your thought, your eyes, your nose, your ear, your touch, and your taste. Right behind there, there's an area that sits in melanin. And when you go, it vibrates that area. It's called the Shoutout infant. Shytyt N FN. My bad. Shoutout Shytyt in NT Fint FND. Okay. Shoutout infant. Right behind your olfactory bulb. And that sends messages to your pineal gland. That's why when you're doing meditation, what's the sound that you make? That sound takes you to a level of consciousness. And in your consciousness, what do you get? Insight. This is what our ancestors was telling us back then in math and in the metaphor. And so the black dot, pineal gland, the Eye of Heru, black dot. Okay? All of those concepts, and it comes from a story between Tehuti, who was, by the way, what was it? Rafiki. Rafiki was Tehuti in the story, because Rafiki was the one that was telling him about he was the king all the time. And the other thing is that when Heru got insight, when he put his eye together and he got insight, he figured out how to defeat his uncle. And the thing is this: we are not to revenge. Our purpose is to avenge, not revenge. Because when you revenge, your focus is on your opponent. When you avenge, your focus is on that individual that sat on the throne of us that you must sit on. Okay? The person that did this, the person that killed his father, killed his father. But the important thing is not to get caught up in trying to get back at him. It's about sitting on the throne of royalty. And so what he came to realize is that you cannot chain your opponent or your thoughts to a rock. Because the same determination you have to get where you got to go is the same determination they have to get where they go. You must freely choose to move them to the side and to allow the jackals of the forest to get them. What goes around comes around. You shall reap what you sow. And so it becomes important, family, that when we get to the promised land, it's not about paying them back for what they did. We were on our way somewhere in 525 BC when they came in and rudely interrupted us. Don't waste your time with them. They're going to destroy themselves in the woods with the jackals are going to get them. Because there is no honor amongst thieves, as you see what's happening right now. They're all clipping at each other. The Hatfields and the McCoys. What we have to do is we have to sit back on the throne and rule the world the way we did prior to being so rudely interrupted by those who know not the Creator. I'm not saying don't keep your eye on them. Keep your eye on them until they're no longer around. But what I'm saying is don't spend your time trying to pay back people who have no place amongst the living. And when I say that, I'm talking about just the way you act, the way you wish to oppress people. Right now, you have 99.8% of everything and you still want more. Money to some is like crack to others. You're addicted. The more you get, the more you want. Whereas the African tradition says the more I got, the more I can share. And that's what we have to do, but we have to think that way. So that's the black dot, that's the Eye of Heru, and that's insight. And that you can practice. You see there? There's the fraction. That's great. That's great. My brother's busy on this. I need to put my glasses on for this one. I want to see this.
I was trying to get it bigger because for some reason it's tough to upload the PNG, so I had to convert it to a PDF. But it's small, but it should be the fractions.
Yeah.
I found them, with the 1/8
Yes.
in the eyebrow, the 1/4 in the pupil,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
half in the front of the eye. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what's interesting about the 1/4 of the eye is that scientifically they knew. When you're in a dark room and someone turns the light on, you have to close your eyes.
Right.
And it goes back to the story that I tell about the Dogon, because when you're in the dark, your inner eye, the pupil, opens up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and when the light goes on, it has to become smaller in order to emit and admit light into the eye, and it must get 1/4 the size in order for light to come into your eye. So they knew the size of the eye in order to admit light to be able to see insight. This is how deep our ancestors were. Just imagine.
It's deep. It's deep. Oh man.
It's real
man.
deep.
Professor Kaba,
I have a whole series on the pineal gland on my site. Real, who we were and what we are, our potential to be, is so profound, family. And what allows me to come before you to speak is not what I hope. It's what I've experienced with our children. I've been with them. I've been with them. I've been around them. I've spent days, every day of my life, for 31 years with children. 14 years I taught college. I've taught every grade, I've taught every subject. I purposely did that to study so I could come to you now and tell you how to make it. I call myself the spook who sat by the classroom door to study the system and its failure in order to come and tell you how to be successful with our children.
Yes, sir.
We can do this.
Oh, yeah.
But first, we got to look at the man or the woman in the mirror and love who we see. Love the width of our nose, the size of our lips, the melanation in our skin, the texture of our hair. We have to love us. And we have to forgive us our trespasses. We have to forgive ourselves for what we've experienced, because you ain't going to change the past. So what you have to do is you have to forgive yourself and move on and do better. As human beings, we do things that are not correct. But once we do them, what you gonna do? I've met brothers that spent time incarcerated, and that incarceration hangs over their head. I say, cut it loose. You already did time. Don't do no more time than you have to. Because the time you spending now, you in prison, but you in the prison of your mind. I used to teach at Rikers Island. I taught the high school students and I taught the adults. I taught the women in the Rose Sing-Along. I went to penitentiaries at Water, up outside of Fresno, California. I taught at what's called the Harlem Valley Secure Center for the children who are in prison. I spent time. Some of the most brilliant minds I've ever met have either been incarcerated in a prison or a jail or in special ed in school. Some of the most brilliant minds. And I'm talking about thinking, like you say, thinking outside the box. No, these people realized there was no box.
Yeah, like a Dr. Blair.
That's an example. Delbert Blair was a brother of mine. You know, I used to tell Dr. Blair, I used to say, you know, Brother Delbert, I said, whenever I'm in your presence and you talking, I said, my mind's like a rubber band. Him and Bobby Hemmett, you know, and Phil Valentine.
Yeah.
I say, when I'm in front of y'all, my mind is like a rubber band. You know, a rubber band that you stretch. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, you have a rubber band, and you stretch it, right? And I mean, they used to stretch my mind to go places where the human mind never went before. But then when they stopped talking, my mind went back. But it was never the same size it was before they started talking. And that I appreciated.
Yes,
and
sir.
I appreciate it because they made me think.
I say.
You can't listen to Dr. Blair, Bobby Hemmett, and Phil Valentine.
Yes, sir.
You either turn them off in fear, or you start thinking about what they're saying to you.
And where can I get some more?
That's it. And at the end, you might not take what they said, but you're never the same. They made your mind expand in a place that it wasn't before they started talking. For that, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Listen, that's why you the reason why I studied Dr. Blair, because I remember that same as you said exactly what you just said just then. I'm like, I don't know who this Dr. Blair dude is, but if he making Professor Kaba think like that, I gotta look this brother up. And boy, when I looked him up, the very first video, I'll never forget. It was an interview. He was in a room. He had on like a burgundy button-up collar shirt. I can't remember who interviewed him, but when I tell you that interview was profound, I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. Everything Professor Kaba said, it makes sense now. And I've been studying him ever since.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, man. And you know what Pacific Dogwood just said about Jadakiss? That is so true.
Yes, sir.
That is so true. The brothers and sisters that I have seen, that I've worked with, it gives them a sense because of the nature of who they are and why they've been placed where they've been placed. It gave them another type of way of looking at the world that you don't always look at. And so when I was able to get a sense of what they were saying, they taught me. I remember I was, and I always tell this story. I was working, and I had an after-school program. This South Central Bronx, 169th and 3rd Avenue. For those that might know what I'm talking about, the Charles Drew School, middle school. And I remember that school, the what they call the regular day had just ended, and I had about a half hour between my regular day and my after-school program, if you want to call it that. And there was a corner store. I was going out to get me a cup of coffee, and I went out through a certain way. And I was going there, and there was this brother that said, "Hey, brother, you look like you might want something like this." And he showed me a book. It's called Paul Robeson Speaks. For those that know Paul Robeson, he's one of the tallest trees in our forest. He said, "Hey, man, I'm selling this book," and I said, "Whoa, Paul Robeson! Wow, that's a heavy dude." So we started talking about Paul Robeson. This brother started dropping some information, but the brother was a heroin addict, and he was nodding out. You know, there were times that he was getting so deep in the conversation, he started to nod out, eyes closed, started to dip down, legs started going down. He started going, and then he'd wake up and he'd start talking again. I stayed with that brother for at least 20 minutes, listening to this brother speak his wisdom. This brother who was a heroin addict, to this day is one of the most intelligent people I've ever spoken to in my life. He dropped some knowledge on me back in the day when he was in the Panther Party, and he knew people that I knew. We started talking about people that we knew. He knew of Dr. Clark, Dr. Ben, he knew them all. And he just say, hey man, I'm human. He used cuss words. I'm not gonna say them now, but he said, things happen, and things happen. He said, so I took a path, getting on heroin and things like that. And I said, brother, how much that book gonna cost? He said $5. $5 for this book. It was a thick book too. I gave him $20 just for the lesson that he taught me. The brother schooled me. This brother schooled me in ways that I have never been brought to certain levels like this in the certain situation that he brought me to. And so when I pass our people in the street, no matter what condition, no matter what station of life that you're in, I love you and I respect you. Because if you're black in 2024 and you're still alive, you're a miracle. Even if you're nodding out on heroin, even if you pimp, prostitute, I may not agree with your lifestyle, but I gotta respect the fact that after all you've been through, you're still trying to move forward. There's a lot of times I do not agree. I'm very much against what you may do, but I still have a level of respect for our people because you are black and you are survivors, and you, no matter what you have in life, going back to being unwanted, there's a lot of things we do when we have been unwanted. I may not agree, but I still understand the conditions that we as black people have been through. And we've got to work towards that thing. So every time I see black people, I see a nemesis on your head. I see that royal nemesis on your head. When I see a sister, I see you sitting on the throne of Aset. And I interact with you then. And I love us as a people. And every day that I live, I learn more about us, and I love us even more because of what we've been through and what we've been able to overcome despite and in spite of everything that happens. We've got work to do, family. I'm not trying. I don't give no excuses, but I know the reasons. We got to make this happen. So, family, please, if you go to my website, kabakamene.com, and if you go to Instagram, I use my Instagram page as my community bulletin board. Haruna said and I work together in developing the work that we're doing. And Haruna said is getting deep inside AI now. And AI, some people say AI is artificial intelligence. To me, AI is ancestral intelligence. Because ain't nothing artificial about our ancestors. And whatever artificial intelligence tells you, ancestral intelligence was telling you 2 days ago. Listen to the voices here.
Sure. Yeah, that was I mean the whole tribe and the comments are going crazy, Professor Kaba. That was it was profound. I mean, I give thanks. Like I can't thank you enough for the willingness to give, not just your time, but you really give what you have. And there's so many people out there now that don't. It's like people want to gatekeep knowledge, they want to gatekeep information, they want to gatekeep the strategy, so many different things, man. And it's like you only hurting yourself when you do that, because at the end of the day, nobody can stop what God created and what God sent forth to become. And it's like at the end of the day, there's nothing or nobody who's not able to shine under the sun. Like the sun is big enough for all us to shine under. Nobody, no matter where you are, like you can't outshine the sun. And it's like the way that you are so like willing to give, like I can't thank you enough for that, because the people love it, I love it, and we appreciate it. And it's like, to me, it's a shining example of what we all should aspire to be. And I feel like as a people, not just a person, as a people. And I give thanks to the tribe, that's been supporting, that's been showing love, that's been, really just like holding it down, man, collectively. No egos, no drama, no nothing, no chaos, just love and reciprocity. Iwa Pwele. And I can't thank you enough, Baba. I appreciate you for sure.
Brother, I appreciate your appreciation. And in light of what you're saying, I often use the story of the fact that there's the sun and the moon. The sun shines and the moon has light. The light of the sun that shines on the moon. That's how you see the moon, because that's really sunshine on the moon. And I know in life that we all can't be the sun every day. But I know that there are suns and there are moons. There is the sun and there's moon. And one day you may be the sun. And when you shine on the moon has light. But tomorrow you may be the moon. And the moon that you shined on might be the sun. And through reciprocity, in your willingness to shine on that moon, to give it light, when you're the moon, they as the sun will shine on you. So we'll always have sunshine and we'll always have moonlight. And it becomes important that we understand this. We all ain't going to be the sun every day. We all ain't going to be the main thing in the sky. But if we share what we have through light, through our shine, the moon will have light. And that's the way it is. The moon has no light. My bad. The moon does not shine. It has the light of the sunshine. And the other thing I'd like to say is, as you thank me, I thank you, brother, for all the work that you're doing. My brother, Orisha Gbemi, I thank you for all that you're doing to make this possible. Because it is through you that I am able to speak to the tribe. It is through your work. You are my microphone. And through this, you're able to create and develop. And I'd like to ask the tribe to make sure that they support you. That during this Kwanzaa season, everybody should have that book, Starseed, as it relates to their own children and even children that they know. They just need to purchase it and give it out to the children to help them understand that they are starseeds. We got to support each other. And there are those that say that money is the root of all evil. But I believe that money also is the means to our emancipation and liberation. Money is not bad. It's what you do with it that decides if it's good or not good. And so for you to continue these programs that you're doing, these meetings that you have, you need support. And you need financial support. And you are worthy of being invested in order to keep the program that you have in place. Because this is only the beginning of what you can offer us as a people. And it just becomes important that they support you, that they love you and respect you and honor you as I do. Because you see, brother, everything that I do, it is because of you. And it is because of those who have come. Chachita, I speak to you. And to all those that have come on to have something to say. Everything that I do for you. It is through you that I am. Because if it wasn't, I'd be talking to myself right now in my house.
Look, I do it sometimes.
I'm talking to as many people as I possibly could be talking to.
Yes, sir.
So I thank you for what you do, brother, and I thank you for the honor and the privilege of being able to come on your program and to share this information and this wisdom with our people. Because you're great, family. You are great. No matter what you may experience outside, no matter what your station in life is, you are great. Love yourself. Love everything about yourself. And then after you love yourself and you throw kisses at yourself in the mirror, then I want you to say this. If it is to be, it's up to me. Wait for no one to do anything for you. If it is to be, it's up to me. And as you leave that room where that mirror is and you say you love you, throw yourself a kiss and pat yourself on the back. But you got work to do that day.
Yes, sir. Yeah. That's powerful. I give thanks, Professor Kaba, and tribe. I give thanks to all y'all. We got almost a little over half 100 people here at 1 o'clock in the morning to get the knowledge, man. So that within itself, even if it was 3 people, you know what I'm saying? Like that says something to us and what we're aspiring to be. But we got 63 people going on 1:03 a.m. and
Wow.
all here to get the knowledge. So I give thanks for the opportunity. And look, I'm gonna quote you, Professor Kaba. It ain't over until we win.
All power to the people.
Yes, sir. Ashe. Appreciate you, family. So yeah, this has been another phenomenal live stream of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Gbemi. Shout out to Professor Kaba, family. Check him out, grab his work, Gumroad, and ProfessorKaba.com, as well as you can find most of your work on Amazon as well too, right, Professor Kaba?
Yes. I encourage people outside the United States to go to Amazon, because what the postage would cost to send it to you is more than the book itself or whatever it is. But if you're in the United States, you can always purchase my work on my website, KabaKamene.com. And also you can go to the link in my bio on Instagram. You can order the work there also. Family, we working. We got this. Yes, I'm not doing this because I want this. I'm doing this because the ancestors and the Creator have directed us to make this happen. And it is happening as we speak. Let the young people know that no matter what they see happening out here, it's going to be all right. Yes, if we went through what we went through before, we can handle this. So let's just keep on keeping on. Because I'm going to quote my brother, Orisha Gbemi, when he says, it ain't over till we win.
Yes, sir. That's what's up. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you, Professor Kaba. We got a lot of people still here, man, showing love in the comments. So it's been special. I can't wait to do it again. And we didn't look. We went so deep, just going off the cuff with the deepness. We didn't even get to the things we were supposed to. But we'll do it again in the near future.
I'm looking forward to it, brother. Give me a reason to come back and have a good time like this.
Yes, sir. I look forward to it, man. I'll definitely be reaching out, Professor Kaba. So, family, we appreciate y'all, man. We really, truly do. We appreciate the love and support. And don't forget to please like, share, and subscribe. And once again, I got links for a free download of Starseeds and Young Kings. Professor Kaba has the free curriculum on his KabaKamene.com on Gumroad, as well as all his products, all his lectures, all his series, the webinars, as well as the digital downloads. So it's a lot. It's a lot to soak in, family. So we appreciate y'all, and we definitely will see y'all in the very near future. I think we'll be back Thursday, but I'll definitely let y'all know in the comments and in the community tab, family. But Professor Kaba, thank you again. I appreciate you, and I'll be in touch real soon. Family, we appreciate y'all. Don't forget to please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see y'all on the next episode. We out. Peace.
Ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé ṣàpò ìyàgbọ́ tẹ́ǹtẹ́ ní takisá ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo ṣe ní gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́. Forsake not your ancestors and praise your